It is 49 days till the man burns, and today we're talking about marijuana at Burning Man. So Nevada recently changed its laws on marijuana, and it's left a lot of smokers hoping that you're going to be able to smoke weed at Burning Man, but that is not the case. Federal law applies at Burning Man, and according to federal law, possession or use of marijuana is still illegal. So smoking it or possessing it or having paraphernalia can get you in trouble. And that applies even if you have a medical marijuana card. Having one of those is not going to get you out of trouble. Even possessing just a small amount is likely to get you in trouble if you get caught with it. So basically it's best to just not bring it and not smoke it. And it also applies to consumables, so don't bring those either, although, those are probably a little bit harder for people to figure out what they are. So something that recently happened that is quite important in regards to this is with drivers. So there's a statement on the Federal Register from June 28th, 2017 that talks about law enforcement officers now being able to test you if you are a driver. And there is also a clause in that you are not allowed to refuse to perform the test, and if you do refuse to perform the test, then that can be used against you. The real kind of caveat with this is the amounts that constitute a fail, that constitute you being under the influence, are very, very low. So you could find that, if you smoked or ate something the night before, that, according to those test limits, you are still under the influence. And this applies to alcohol as well. They can test you for a variety of things, alcohol, marijuana, heroin, all kinds of other drugs. I will link to the Federal Register thing in the description box so that you can go and check that out for yourselves. You can see, exactly what they say, exactly what constitutes probable cause, exactly what the limits are, all of, that stuff. Because if that is something that is, potentially an issue for you, then it's worth being aware of exactly, what the rules are and, what your rights are. But before you can be tested, there must be probable cause. There has to be a reason for them wanting to test you. They can't just, randomly be like, hey, that person looks like they probably have some drugs. Let's test them. There has to be something that you've done to give them a reason to want to test you. It can't just be, what you look like or what you're dressed like or anything like that. So obviously some of the potential probable cause reasons are fairly obvious, erratic driving, drug paraphernalia being in plain sight, open alcohol containers, them seeing you doing drugs. And bear in mind that if you smoke hand-rolled cigarettes, then potentially that can look like you are smoking a joint. So, be a bit careful. But the most broad and kind of vague of these is the drug paraphernalia thing. So according to the Federal Register, drug paraphernalia means all equipment, products, and materials of any kind which are used, intended for use, or designed for use in planting, propagating, cultivating, growing, harvesting, manufacturing, compounding, converting, producing, preparing, testing, analyzing, packaging, repackaging, storing, containing, concealing, injecting, ingesting, inhaling, or otherwise introducing into the human body a controlled substance in violation of any state or federal law or regulation issued pursuant to law. But so, despite it being quite long and covering quite a lot, it's kind of vague. Are rolling papers, are they drug paraphernalia? Because, many people just use those for hand rolling cigarettes. Is a lighter drug paraphernalia? Because, there are many other uses for a lighter. It doesn't mean that you are lighting a joint or lighting a crack pipe or something. Ziploc bags, everyone brings Ziploc bags to Burning Man. Technically, Ziploc bags could be used to store drugs in them. What about tobacco tins? Many smokers will bring tobacco tins with them and sweet tins to hold their cigarette butts and ash in. So do they count as paraphernalia? So, it's kind of a difficult one because many things could be considered drug paraphernalia that actually have alternative uses that are absolutely nothing to do with drugs. But technically those things could be probable cause for them to ask you to submit to testing or, a search or something. So regardless of that, law enforcement officers do need probable cause before they can ask you to test, and it is your right to ask them what exactly that probable cause is. And, if they say, hey, you've got a tobacco tin on your dashboard, there's a potential that you have marijuana in it, then it is possible that you would be able to simply, show them no, it's just got tobacco in it because I'm a smoker, I don't have any marijuana, I don't smoke marijuana. And maybe that's going to be, enough to prove no, the thing that you're saying is drug paraphernalia is clearly not drug paraphernalia. Therefore, it doesn't count as probable cause. But, I'm not a lawyer and I'm British, so, I know even less about American law than probably the average American. So I don't know if that would fly. I don't know if, proving the thing that they're saying is the probable cause because it's drug paraphernalia, proving that it's not drug paraphernalia, I don't know if that's gonna, mean that you don't need to do the test anymore or you're not subject to search if they want to do a search. Your best bet is if you have anything like that could potentially be seen as drug paraphernalia, make sure it is packed away, make sure it is not in plain sight where, an officer can spot it and think that it's drug paraphernalia. If you smoke roll-ups and you're concerned that maybe a law enforcement officer might think that you are smoking marijuana, then, don't smoke roll-ups in your vehicle when you are around law enforcement officers or when you're getting to the gate or something. But the best way to just make sure that you have a fun, nice trip with no problems is to, make sure that you don't have any stuff on you. And then if they do spot your tobacco tin or rolling papers or you smoking a roll-up, it's not really going to matter because, you don't actually have any illegal substances on you. And if you do smoke weed or, have consumables or anything like that, make sure that you don't do any of it, for a few days before Burning Man so that you can be sure that if you do end up being subject to test, that you don't have anything in your system that is going to get you in trouble. And keep that in mind for the way home as well, because, there is a chance that you may get tested on the way back out. And so, if you've been out drinking or doing any kind of drugs the night before the drive home, you might find that you still have some of that in your system and then you are technically under the influence and you could end up having problems. So I hope this was helpful, guys. Ultimately the answer is no, it is still not legal. If you bring some or you're using it at Burning Man, you do risk finding yourself in a sticky situation and getting into some trouble. So I'd love to hear what you all think in the comments below. And, if things change, if there's any more developments, then, let us know in the comments below. And if you see me at Burning Man this year, feel free to come and say hi to me. Bye, guys.